Alright, welcome to the third part in this section from my deactivation. So, yeah, I started doing these deliveries about a year ago, actually, because I needed work, right? It was easy to sign up because anybody can sign up. There's no training, nothing. It's a good thing I have experience in the hospitality industry. In fact, I trained as a fine dining server. So, I did an interview with CTV because a lot of changes the last year came in regulation-wise. For a long time, you didn't have to claim any of the money you made on gig work. And then last year they changed that, which, yeah, any income is considered income. It's taxable, which I know I don't necessarily like either. I mean, who likes to? But the thing is, if you're not saving money, of course you don't like it. But it's also hard nowadays, and that's the difficulty, because gig work's supposed to be the extra thing. I mean, if you give me $20 to paint your fence as a friend, that's still considered income, which I know is annoying. But look, we have hospitals, we have roads that are paved, we have all these things that we have for that. Not to mention money is circular, so you don't get to take it with you. Right? So, we're talking about that. Now, there's a longer interview to this. I do have a recording of it, but I've yet to post it anywhere. So here's the short. It's the clip, because the person I was speaking to interviewed a bunch of different gig workers. So they took pieces of each of our discussion, but I will eventually put the full interview up somewhere, the audio. So here's my thoughts on that. And it is people's livelihood. Right, losing this, you can literally go homeless. Not that scares me anymore, considering I was homeless for 12 years. It doesn't frighten me anymore, and I'm not a materialist. So CTV News, you can still find this on their website. The title, Canada's Gig Economy, How Some Workers Are Responding to Stricter Tax Requirements. For many Canadians, the gig economy is more than just means for extra cash. At times, it can be a lifeline to recover from financial setback or make ends meet. That's something such and such knows too well. Me. When the pandemic crippled the restaurant industry, he, a professional server, turned to grocery and food delivery apps to stay afloat. Today, he spends up to 10 hours driving across Vancouver, fulfilling orders through Instacart and Uber Eats. Some days, he brings in as little as $60. On better days, he can make up to $200. Despite its volatile nature, he takes gig work seriously, regularly tracking income, filing his taxes, and staying informed. Tax season can be a meticulous time of year, and he worries not everyone in this industry are well informed. To quote me, I think a lot of people aren't aware that, yes, you might owe something to the government, but you don't have to give it all at once. Most people don't want to, and they don't care. So it's true, when you have taxes, you can do installment payments. I actually always pay my installment payments. I've got one right now, automatically, every month. A little bit of money comes out of my account every single month for my taxes. So it's a lot less than having to pay a big bulk at the end of each year. Especially it's tough when you're hard on cash. Across the country, millions of gig workers like him are facing the new reality of Bill C-47, where companies will file their first information return later this month. So all companies now, so Uber, Instacart, have to actually file with the government now what their contractors are doing, which is what everyone else has done. They, for some reason, haven't had to until now. Well-known platforms like Uber, Etsy, and Airbnb, amongst others, will report their users' income and personal information directly to the Canada Revenue Agency, CRA. An effort aimed to address concerns that financial details isn't always visible to tax administrators. In fact, nearly a third of gig workers have considered not declaring their earnings at all. According to a survey from H&R Block Canada, officials say it's a growing industry that's nearly doubled in the past 15 years. Now, for those of you who don't know, H&R is a tax company. A lot of people go to them to get their taxes done. And of course, it's doubled in the last 15 years because you weren't declaring your taxes, so you made a ton of money. So for me, this previous year, I mean, I could look at my taxes, but I mean, what do I remember? I think I made like So before I fell out of the restaurant industry, I mean, that first year, I think that was 2020, everybody made extra money on food, so let's not look at that. It's a big thing. Because, I mean, that first year I made almost 100, I think it was like $80,000 I made. Right? But then, of course, everyone's back to work, yada, 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 eating healthier, not spending so much money online cooking. So, so far, I mean, like last year, I think I only made $42,000. And I don't think I kept any of it. I've got no savings. I have like $200 in my savings account. So, let's not, right? Now, everyone's different with their bills. And I have a slew of bills, a lot of them because of 2020, but it's very interesting. And then it goes on to talk about other people and what they're talking about and their issues in their area of the gig work. But the reality is, it's just like any other job. You have to pay your taxes. And for many, it's a question of survival. For others, it's simply just a part of their job. Right? A lot of people aren't doing gig work as a career. And we're calling it gig work, but it was temporary worker or temp worker. This always existed. Or, my girl Friday, my guy Friday. This was always a thing that existed. But now it's become a viable form of income. Now, when I was out of high school, I remember I used to actually work for a temp company that hired waiters. And I would go all around the city to different hotels and be a banquet server or private room server when they needed someone last minute. It paid really well, much above minimum wage. It was great. Even now, yeah, if you can get the job. But nobody can afford to rent a banquet hall anymore. So, unfortunately, it's not a new thing. So, I did that actually for about 2 years full time. It was great. It was good money for the time, sure, but it still wasn't that good. You were still barely getting by. So, but I mean, for me, I want to get back to a restaurant. I love being a restaurant server. After getting out of the film and TV industry and growing up in it, I had realized that was my love. I loved art. Right, and I've talked about this before, so I'm not going to talk about it again, but I've worked in the industry and the arts, but stuff happens, stuff shifts, and I don't really like the industry so much anymore. Not to say I won't take work, but I just approach it in a different aspect. And I didn't think I'd ever find something I love, and I struggled for years to figure out what I'm going to do and how do I transition out of entertainment, how do I enjoy it still. And accidentally I fell into service work again. I don't even know how I did that, but I needed a job, and I think someone recommended something. It was temp. I remember. I forget. I had to really look it up. It was either temp work first from a hotel, or I actually grabbed a job in a diner. I don't know if it was which was first, but I needed some extra cash. I took it seriously, and it was I really hadn't done anything. I mean, all I did was learn lines, for crying out. It's not a job. That's easy as hell. I'm so privileged. It's not hard at all. It's pathetic. We're not doing anything for society, really. And nowadays, it's even more of an argument because everything's free on YouTube, right? Or even before, right? You could read a book to anyone or recite a sonnet. Or why pay for it when someone's going to do it for free because they love to do it? So why should I pay you to do it? But it is difficult, right? I mean, it's not that easy to work in the arts and entertainment. It's actually not. A lot of people have tried it and they don't realize how difficult it really is to make really high quality product. Then again, nowadays, you can make low quality product and it's still better than high quality. It's a big waste of money, a lot of it. And the tax issues there, my God, don't get me talk. The amount of tax that we don't pay that we should be in the film industry, where people are starving and dying, you're paying multi-millions for something that is ridiculous. Come on. We don't need to be spending millions an episode on a TV show. You can do it a lot cheaper and still have quality. And we know if we look at other countries, they do it for a lot less and it's still quality. There's a huge problem there. We should be charging more for the film and television industry. A lot more. So, when I found food, I fell in love with it. And I realized, my God, I do love that. I never thought I'd find anything again that makes me so passionate. And, hospitality comes from to be hospitable, from hospital, from help, from health, to bring someone in who needs sanctuary from the cold or they're in pain, and you bring them in to help them, to be hospitable. You go to a hospital to get help, to get treatment. Food is treatment. It gives life. We come together. People celebrated over meals. They told stories and gathered. It's really deep-rooted in who we are. Whether you like it or not, you have to eat. I mean, I wish we didn't have to, because I think it's a big waste of time. That and sleeping and going to the restroom. Just useless inventions. You could be doing so much more and actually enjoying life. But if you're going to eat because you have to, you might have really good food. Because you just feed yourself as best as you can. Not that we can all do that. You do have to be rich to eat well, and that's a fact. So, yeah, taxes are something that, look into it. You don't need to pay it all at once. You can pay portion. But be ready that no matter what you're doing, it could be taxable. Even if you're not aware of it. Literally, any income you get is taxable. Even financial gifts are taxable. Literally everything. Although we have it pretty good here when you're living in Canada, because at least our taxes actually go to support public funding. Is it perfect? No, but it's pretty close to. There's a lot of other countries that do a much better job, but they're also smaller than we are. And we also do a better job than a lot of other countries. But it's nice to walk into a hospital and not have a credit card. Nice to walk into a school and get an education. Nice to have roads that are paved without having to beg for it. And it goes on and on and on. So that's a huge thing. And a lot of people went into this whole thing because they weren't paying taxes. Mind you, some people are still not, but they're going to get gouged now that companies actually have to report to the government. So, yeah, I'm going to have to pay taxes on this. And I'm not even working on it. Well, because next year, tax seasons have to claim for it. Okay, my next video, it's going to be about Uber. I activated that. It is the worst app and company I've ever been connected to.